Hey everybody, thank you for downloading episode 110 of We Got This with Mark and Hal. This is the first of our cabin episodes, recorded live aboard the HMS Westerdam as part of JoCo Cruise 2017, but not the official Night Vale panel we had last week. These are all the independent recordings Mark and I did, and we'll be sprinkling them throughout the next month or two. We are now past the maximum fund drive. We had over 22,000 new and upgrading donors to the network, and Mark and I really appreciate all the support that's been shown for We Got This specifically. Of course, since we hit that 20K goal, if you are listening to this episode and it is before Saturday, April 8th, that means you get to vote and help determine which of our episodes from the last 52 weeks are going to be overturned. There is a survey live on the Facebook group. That is the only way to do it. Facebook.com/groups/We Got This podcast. So go ahead, if you haven't done so already, let your voice be heard and help us figure out where we went wrong in the last year. But for now, enjoy this supersized episode recorded live on the JoCo Cruise 2017. It's episode 110 of We Got This with Mark and Hal.
Hello, I'm Hal Lublin.
And I'm Mark Gagliardi.
Since the dawn of humanity, one issue has gone unsettled. With the fate of the world in the balance, we're here to settle, once and for all, best Coen brothers film.
That's right. Don't worry, everyone. We got this.
Podcast should have a theme song. Podcast should not have a theme song. Yes, they should. No, they shouldn't. They sound good. Yeah, but people are just going to skip past it. You know what? You're right. We got this.
Good morning, Hal.
Good morning, Mark.
Good morning, listeners. I don't know if you're listening in the morning, but for us, it's morning. We are currently sitting in the Pacific Ocean.
Yep. The Sea of Cortez.
The Sea of Cortez, just outside of Laredo, Mexico.
Yes.
We're on the JoCo Cruise. This is the third in our series of episodes recorded on the JoCo Cruise. And we have a dear friend with us today.
Yes, we do. The one of the creative forces behind Welcome to Night Vale and Between the Wires.
Within the Wires.
Damn it! I knew it was Within the Wires.
It's all right.
I don't know why I said Between the Wires. It's because I am related to my maternal grandmother who always got titles wrong. It's Jeffrey Cranor.
Hi, boys.
Hello.
Thanks for coming back to the show
I'm
after
excited.
we ruined your last experience.
That's
on
okay.
this show.
You censored my last experience.
Yeah. It was too salacious. It'll never make. It was like bum fights. It's banned in the U.S. now.
Is that what banned means? Accidentally taped over?
Yeah.
So anytime I see a DVD that's like banned in the U.S. for years, I'm like, oh, they finally found the tape then.
Yes.
Somebody just taped some Hogan's Heroes over it. They were able to recover it through miracle technology.
Yep.
Did you guys ever have one of those, like a VHS tape that accidentally, I got yelled at least once for accidentally taping over a family thing with a TV show I wanted to watch?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Well, I don't know if I ever did it accidentally. You do the thing where you put the piece of scotch tape over the little broken off tab that protects it or whatever.
Right.
And just like in
Mom
an
pulled the
emergency.
tab off to make sure that no one would ever tape over this. What is this that's on there now? Night Court?
Yeah, I absolutely taped over it was a family reunion videotape, and I absolutely taped over it. And to make it even worse, it wasn't even to record like Twin Peaks or something. It was to record the Pro Bowl.
The most meaningless football game on the planet.
Bowl.
The upshot of it all was that I never rewatched that Pro Bowl. And my mom never asked where that tape was, so just nobody was clamoring to see either, so it really didn't matter.
It's like a time bomb. One day,
Yeah,
your family will want to see video of a parade of dead relatives waving at a camera.
yeah, and they're gonna see Irving Fryer running free for a touchdown in the middle of Hawaii. Yeah.
I like that videotapes are starting to deteriorate now, so everyone is digitizing them. And somewhere someone's going to go, oh, I don't know what happened. The tape deteriorated into a Pro Bowl.
Well, we're not here to talk about the Pro Bowl or Jeffrey's extended family at a picnic.
I thought this was the episode on Best Pro Bowl.
That's gonna be a 5-parter.
It is.
We'll bring you back for it.
Oh, you'll get so many emails.
I know. They're already pouring in. Most of them are from Irving Fryer, campaigning for his. Remember that one-handed catch I had?
Okay, great.
I was a virtuoso on the field. It's me, Irving. We're here to talk about Coen Brothers films, and this is a first for our show. This is the first time the guest is also the person who suggested the topic.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You said, I want to come back on, because originally we recorded January of 2016 during the blizzard.
Yes.
During those Night Vale shows that we did in Spanish Harlem, I think. We did best movie theater snack with you.
Yes.
And then I proceeded to, because I was using that recording device the first time, record each subsequent episode over the one previous.
Uh-huh.
So you recorded over Joseph's episode, and then Cecil's episode recorded over both of y'all.
That's right.
You
And
guys are like a
Cecil's one.
rock, paper, scissors of We Got This episode.
Yeah.
That's right.
Oh, I threw it out of Jeffrey. Sorry, a Cecil beats a Jeffrey.
Cecil, Joseph, yep. Mhm.
And then I said, we'll have you back on. We can re-record it sometime. He said, when you have me on, let's do best Coen Brothers film.
Okay. I sort of assumed a lot of your guests are like, I have to talk about this. Let's.
Oh, frequently it's, I don't know anything about that subject.
Yeah.
Or I have no feelings on that topic.
And then they wind up
And then
having
we
lots
pull
of
out those feelings.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is a first. Yeah. Generally they look through our list and pick one, but you threw that out there. It seemed like a good topic.
Mm-hmm.
Here
Even
we
though
are.
you did the show wrong,
We're going to allow it.
we're going to allow it this
Great.
one time.
Great.
Just don't
As-
tape over this episode with audio of the Pro Bowl.
It was. It was one of the few topics besides Pro Bowl that I feel like I've seen almost every one of them.
So you've seen, I have here 18 films.
Mm-hmm.
That includes the HBO television movie, A Serious Man. It also
And-
includes their segment of Paris Je t'aime.
Right.
Yes.
How many of these have you seen? looking at them?
Of this list, I have seen all of these except for, and I'm sure I will be easily forgiven for this. No, I've seen all but two. I have not seen Paris Je t'aime,
Okay.
and I have not seen The Lady Killers.
All right.
I feel like I'm in a prime position to see The Lady Killers now because it's been enough years have passed that people aren't continually dumping on it.
Right.
That I can approach it with this thought of, like, let's see how this not even holds up. Like, what would this be?
How bad is it really?
How bad
Yeah.
could it really be?
So what do you like about the Coen Brothers so much?
I've always loved their ability to kind of mesh the macabre and the dark and the scary, the suspense with comedy. Like there's a real physical humor to a lot of what they do, and there's a real sense of like creativity and wackiness. Like I remember seeing Blood Simple, and the scene where it's Emmett Brown, right? Is that the
Emmett Walsh.
Emmett Walsh? Emmett Walsh, who's reaching his hand around the outside of the window, and she stabs down the hand. And there's something really like, one, you have the relief of that moment of like the protagonist. Oh, this is how she's going to win. But also the comedy of it. Like he's hilarious. Like he's so sweaty and scary and gross, and it's amazing. And so I remember sort of like having a cheer laugh moment at that. And I think there's a lot of that. There's the Miller's Crossing scene, like somebody firing a machine gun and then getting machine gunned himself as the machine gun goes everywhere and bullets spray the chandelier and ceiling. So there's a lot of that sort of stuff.
The comedy of the messy moments that aren't usually filmed.
Yeah. And I was sort of surprised when I pulled this same list up this morning. I didn't realize Sam Raimi was on Hudsucker Proxy, because I feel like that was my first big moment of recognizing the Coen Brothers as like an entity, like a auteur entity.
Yeah.
As opposed to like, oh, there's a through line of all these movies that I like. And when I saw Hudsucker Proxy back in college, I remember thinking that it's like, this is brilliant in the repetition of, for kids, and the creativity of the creation of the hula hoop and that whole sequence, the montage, one of the
Right.
best montages I can ever think
It
of
is.
in a film. Yeah.
There is something about Sam Raimi, like the Evil Dead 2 and Army of Darkness, Sam Raimi, that feels a little bit Coen's-ish.
Yeah.
Not quite, but that idea of like these quirky people are sort of running around doing stuff in an odd situation.
And also funny plus macabre.
Yes.
That's Sam Raimi in a nutshell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's funny when the three of them get together, they make the Hudsucker Proxy, which is the only PG film that the Coen brothers have released. All the other ones are
really?
PG-13 or R.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's their kids' movie.
It is their kids' movie.
Yeah.
It's a really good kids' movie, other than the fact that it's like 2 hours and 45 minutes long. But like that's the thing that kids would not like about the movie.
Including the
Unless it's that
mezzanine.
one kid.
Yeah.
What strikes me about these movies and going back and watching a few of them, I will admit, first of all, I've not seen every single one on this list, but I've seen a whole heck of a lot of them. And they're less stories around an incident and more slice of life. So whatever the characters are, I'll give you an example of that. Hail Caesar, I think a lot of people who went to see it were expecting it to be about George Clooney being kidnapped because that's how it was marketed.
Yeah.
George Clooney's all over the trailer. They show him being carried off. That's what you think it is. And all these different Hollywood people appear to be reacting to it. It's really not about him. It's about Josh Brolin's character. It's about a week in the life of this head of a studio or this fixer who's trying to weigh whether or not the life he leads there is better than him working, I think, in oil or banking, like moving to another state and just being set up for life. And it works better when you see the film through that lens rather than saying, oh, I'm disappointed because I expected a through line.
Yeah.
But it's the same way with No Country for Old Men, is that it's told from the point of view of Tommy Lee Jones's character. It's a slice of life for this cop. And then when he's not on the case anymore, okay, I'm done. Then the movie's over.
Yeah. This seems like not a country at all for an elderly fellow like me.
Yeah.
Fargo is a similar thing too. Like it's all the simple things in life, like Marge's husband making his little mallard stamps and things like that. Like all the little small things. Even the name of the town is small. Like it's really yeah, you're right. The slice of life is really a big thing.
Which is why often their movies feel like they just end.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They don't, it's not a giant, huge climax. It's a guy in a chipper.
Yeah.
And then, which in the world that they've created doesn't seem that super weird even.
Yeah. Even Barton Fink is like, the craziest of the slice of life films. And it's probably the most polarizing, we'd say. You people either love it or hate it.
It's the most hard to wrap your head around.
Right.
Yeah.
So how do we want to attack these? Mark, you're the king of criteria.
All right. I would say we could just go chronologically through them. We could start at the beginning of their career, see what's changed throughout, or we could, throw out a few honorable mentions that we know aren't going to make it and really dig in on the ones that we think will.
Yeah.
You guys, feel like?
I think we should try and pull out of a list of 18 5 finalists.
Yeah.
For what makes the best film. I think it's I think best film is a combination of, first of all, the quality of filmmaking is always there. So I think it's maybe characters, performances, and the look of the film, because they all have different looks.
I think that sounds great.
Does that sound good?
Yeah.
And music always factors pretty heavily. And that maybe weighs it more towards Inside Llewyn Davis or Oh Brother Where Art Thou, where the soundtrack is a very important part of the film.
Yeah, the two musicals.
Yes. But I think those are important factors to consider. So let's jump in with Blood Simple, which I have not seen. Downloaded it on my iPad, started it last night, fell asleep. It was late. Not because it was boring.
I've not seen Blood Simple either.
I have. I think it's a really excellent suspense movie. It's a really great introduction into Coen Brothers filmmaking, but I also think I will admit and say that it's been about 6 years since I've seen it, but I remember rewatching it a few years ago. And my wife Jillian and I were going through a rewatching Coen Brothers phase, and we both came away thinking like you can see a lot of what makes Coen Brothers movies, but ultimately it just feels like a very solid 80s suspense movie. Like it feels like it feels like a really good crime thriller. It's got some horror elements to it. It's really wonderful. Like super, super young Frances McDormand.
Yes.
It's a really good film, but I think it's hard to say, like, other than this just being their first film and it being a very excellent film, it's hard to be like, yes, Coen Brothers really nailed it with their first one and they never got any better. Like,
Right.
Yeah.
It's been all downhill from Blood Simple.
In reading a lot on these guys, that seems to happen a lot in people's assessments of the Coen Brothers. They're like, well, all of their first 4 movies are their greatest achievements of all time.
Yes.
And then all the rest of their movies are very, very good.
Yeah.
But that's a terrible thing to tell a filmmaker, right? Hey, remember that thing you did, 33 years ago?
Yeah.
That was the good one.
Yes.
Congratulations on having peaked.
Mr. Shyamalan, I have something I'd like to say.
Oh, Lord. So,
Tidbit about this, because as always, Kate McManus has given us some fantastic fun facts, our researcher, for each of the movies. Much like the band Fun, Blood Simple should have a period at the end of the title.
So weird.
oh, yeah.
I did not even think about that.
That's how it's typed out on screen.
Yep.
Typed out. Like Stephen J. Cannell wrote it on the screen with his typewriter.
Was Stephen J. Cannell the one that the page flew out and then it gently settled?
That's such an affectation of like a first time artist too, to be like, no, this has a period at the end of it. I know.
My movie.
It feels so pretentious, I guess.
Yeah.
But I love the band Fun and I forgive them for it.
For having
Because it's hilarious.
Just
fun.
Yeah, fun. And lowercase f and the period at the end.
That makes more sense to me because it is funny to see the period fun. Fun.
Yeah.
Fun.
It's a good joke.
I guess Blood Simple, I guess you're doing that same thing.
Yeah, it's blood and it's simple.
Period. I don't know.
Were they trying to say that it is a sentence? This title is a sentence? Because it's not a complete one.
No, it's not a grammatically correct sentence. I don't.
They were going to put a period after No Country for Old Men, but they realized they hadn't written this is at the beginning, so they couldn't put the period.
Yeah, unless you did like a question mark after blood and then a period after simple. You could do that.
Or a colon after blood.
Unless it's like one of those statements, like one of those sayings like blood simple.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Period.
Yeah. We can get this car fixed. Blood simple. Okay, 3 years later, they release their next film, which I know was Mark's favorite.
My all-time favorite.
Raising Arizona.
Oh, yeah. It's a pretty perfect movie. Another I wish I could attribute these. We don't have the internet, but about the best thing I saw online about this 1-2 punch was, it was very strange for them to do this. It would be as if Quentin Tarantino made Reservoir Dogs and followed it up with Ghostbusters. Because these guys that you're like horror and suspense directors, the Coen brothers have a new film coming out, Raising Arizona. We don't know what it's going to be about, but we're sure it'll be scary.
You go from basically the modern Double Indemnity to an ex-con and an ex-cop stealing a baby from a rich couple that's just had 5 of them.
Can I tell you, this is the moment that I went, oh, this is the one. This is the one for me. And this Raising Arizona was one of those early movies for me where watching it as a kid, I was like, oh, this is a pretty special movie. And it was out around the same time as, Pee-wee's Big Adventure. Mm-hmm. So like these sort of road through the desert with insane things happening, was like, this is my new favorite genre of movie as a child.
Yeah.
But it's the moment when, William Forsythe and John Goodman have, misplaced the baby and just scream in each other's faces. Just extended screaming in each other's faces. I don't know. That's making me laugh right now. Just the idea of that scene.
Yeah, it's tremendous. Well, and then you obviously have like the diaper stealing scene, which is not only notable for you got a panty on your head line, to the sweeping back around in the car, peeling out, opening the door and picking the Pampers up off the road.
Yes.
Also the blue dye explosion scene is also really perfect. Everything. This is also, I feel like you have to put this movie up there in like one of their in the greatest talk too, because this, unlike Blood Simple, you start seeing all of the staples of a Coen Brothers movie. It's almost like they made that first movie and they made something that I think is always going to be popular, which is this crime movie. Yeah. And then suddenly you say, okay, now, hey, they just gave us a bunch of money. Now let's make a movie we really want to make, which is a movie that's incredibly funny and also, there's a lot of parable to it. There's a lot of metaphor. There's a lot of parable. There's a really strong political message happening about the poor and the cycle of being poor and the cycle of prison and the idea of the way High can't stay, like when his buddies get out of prison. the way he starts falling back onto his old habits too of crime, all the way up to like, but the rich have so much, like these really wealthy family then
literally
has 5 babies.
We can't have one.
So it starts playing with that. I sort of never liked the ending of this movie. Are we allowed to? We can spoiler.
Yeah,
If somebody's listening to an episode about a Coen Brothers movie from 1987,
it is officially 30 years old at the time of this recording. So
Rosebud was the sled.
yeah. Oh, shit.
Statute of limitations just passed.
That's right.
On this one.
Yep. Jesus is the Son of God. Don't know if you got to that part, but
Darth Vader is Luke's father.
Watch out for the 4 horsemen.
there is this thing about like the end where they get there and they do return the baby, and then you have I forget the guy's name who plays Nathan Arizona.
Is it Trey Wilson?
Maybe so.
Is that who Trey
Maybe
Wilson
I didn't
is?
actually know his name.
I don't know. I just see their name among the stars.
But yeah, then they get there and then Dad Arizona is like, I forgive you. I totally understand your situation or whatever. And then, and they kind of go back into their lives of being normal. And then at the end, there's like the suggestion that they went on and had a bunch of kids and whatever else. And I was just thinking, it's a weird thing of like having the end of the movie, especially that's a parable about wealth and privilege and lack of privilege and the cycle of poverty and wealth. And then at the end, the wealthy person says, "Oh, it's totally cool. You're totally fine."
They're the Deus in the Deus Ex Machina.
Yeah. It feels a little weird to me to look back on that and think about that as the end of the story.
One commonality that a lot of Coen Brothers movies have is a weak ending, and I think that feeds back into the slice of life. So if we go back and yes, it's a statement on the cycle of poverty and the difference between the haves and the have-nots, but it's also sort of a slice of life. This dopey ex-con and his wife. They've just chosen maybe the most interesting period of time in their life to show us. Yeah. So then it sort of trails off from there. So I think even the one that we may like the most is still going to have that same feeling of, well, the ending was sort of, it's a soft landing.
Yeah.
They have a lot of soft landing endings, but young Nicolas Cage is like the prototypical Coen Brothers actor. This is the only, I think, Coen Brothers movie that he ever did.
Mm-hmm. I think you're right.
But he sort of set the tone for what a Coen Brothers character is.
Yeah.
Which I think, let's talk about Coen Brothers characters for a minute, just in general, because it feels to me like, are these archetypes spun around? Are these just there's no archetype to any of these characters and they are just weird combinations of traits that the Coen Brothers put together? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I can't think you don't think of a Coen Brothers movie as having like, I guess Blood Simple if it's, lover, cheater, killer, like these sort of archetype things. But so many of their movies are like, weird guy with an air gun.
Right.
Like bowl cut and air gun.
Yeah.
Pregnant policewoman.
Right, right. A guy who licks bowling balls.
Yeah, it's just bizarre, interesting people.
I think the formula is super hyper strong point of view. Crazy voice. Weird appearance.
Yeah.
I mean, even John Goodman and Barton Fink has a definitive point of view, even though he's not what he appears to be.
That was John Turturro? Or you say John Goodman?
John Goodman. Oh, well, John Turturro too.
I swore that was Malcolm Gladwell in that movie.
But John Goodman and Barton Fink has a strong point of view, a little bit of a voice, and he looks weird because he's sweating all the time.
Yeah, and setting fire to things. Yeah, I think there's definitely a lot of the the hyper realized character in a lot of their movies. It's not very often that the lead character is quite as big as Holly Hunter and Nick Cage are in Raising Arizona.
Right.
A lot of times I think about like Tim Robbins in Hudsucker Proxy or John Turturro and Barton Fink, where they have a unique hairstyle and kind of a period piece outfit and sort of a persona that kind of falls on an old Hollywood archetype of like the Golly G. Willikers of Tim Robbins.
Right. Yes.
Or the kind of like Dalton Trumbo wannabe style of Barton Fink,
Yes.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have to be the old characters, because look at Brad Pitt in it's
yes, burned
yeah,
after reading.
an insane haircut.
Yes.
A very much a costume of a period. The period just happened to be that moment in time.
Yes.
And the costume was, this is what the gym guys wear.
The gym guy with the popped collar.
Yeah.
He almost has the same hair he has in Cool World. But like on purpose.
Right.
On purpose, knowing it's kind of jokey. So I think, are we going to say Raising Arizona is one of our finalists? Is it going to get a bye to the
definitely
I think
finals?
you have
love
to elevate that. Yeah.
For sure. Okay.
One other character that happens a lot is, and I don't remember his name or if he even has a name in Raising Arizona, which is the biker. That really grizzled, scary biker guy.
That is another great, like, you want to talk like teach a class in editing and cinematic tension?
Yes.
Baby in the Road.
Yes.
Yeah.
Really, really
man.
awesome. But it's the kind of like lawful evil character. It's the, not even, it's like, or is it chaotic neutral? I don't know what it is, but it's this character that is, it's the force of all batting. It's the force of fate in the world, right?
Right,
it's this thing that can sweep in at any moment and you have no control over. And things that they deal with directly in like No Country for Old Men about fate, or that they deal with comedically in Hudsucker Proxy, or I'm sorry, Big Lebowski with the "Wir Nihilist, give us the money."
Yeah.
And, you know, that sort of thing.
We believe in nothing.
Or we believe in nothing. But or even in like A Serious Man, where it's straight up Job, the force of like evil God.
Yeah.
Right.
Everything is just destroying him.
Yes.
Okay. Let's move forward to another movie I've not seen, and people, my friend Craig was so shocked that he gave me the DVD. He loaned it to me to watch, and that sits in a pile of DVDs that I have yet to watch. It's Miller's Crossing, y'all.
Hey, shrink wrapped at Hal's house.
I know this is a beloved film.
Yeah.
Just looking at the description of it and the stars, so we have Gabriel Byrne, Albert Finney, and John Turturro. Tom Regan, an advisor to a Prohibition-era crime boss, tries to keep the peace between warring mobs, but gets caught in divided loyalties. Sounds like a great idea for a movie. How'd they do, guys?
I don't know. How'd they do, Jeffrey?
No, you haven't
Jeffrey,
seen
how'd
this
they
either.
do?
I've seen the iconic scene.
Okay.
That's
Yeah,
that, which
in
is
the woods.
which is probably terrible that I'm first of all basing this off of one scene that I've seen, and also that I should probably see the rest of the movie, but I know what happens in that scene.
I feel this way a lot about how I feel about Blood Simple, which is I think it's a very good movie. It has a lot more than Blood Simple of I think like iconic moments. I mentioned the kind of like the gangster being gunned down and like bullets flying everywhere, and there's just something really funny and violent about the whole thing.
Right.
There's some really amazing like physically choreographed moments in this movie, and I remember the style, and I remember it being dark and upsetting. This was kind of also back in the phase when I felt like they would go between like dark and upsetting, super funny and weird, dark and upsetting, super funny and weird, and they follow this pattern for quite a while actually.
Yeah.
And it is, this is one of their dark and upsetting movies. And I think it's really great. I honestly, though, for a movie I haven't seen in 6 years, I remember very little of it.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not a movie that sits strong with me. I'm also not a mob movie guy, a gangster movie guy.
I love me a mob movie.
I do too.
So this movie might, unfortunately fall by the wayside because I don't know that I'll have a strong defense for putting it in our top 5.
Yes.
But these super strong Coen Brothers fans listening to this might be like, well, thanks for getting only one asshole who's ever seen this movie.
Exactly.
And then he doesn't even like gangster pictures.
Yeah.
Sorry for not defending it, everybody.
Yep.
Yeah. Too bad. Look, I think it would be more, I think even like the deepest Coen Brothers fan would probably say you should have talked about it more rather than it's the one that's going to win. I personally think that there are stronger films ahead.
I do too. I think a real Coen Brothers fan will understand Miller's Crossing not moving on in the same way a Cowboys fan would understand Romo not being considered for the Hall of Fame.
There you go. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Well said.
Really
You know
good.
what he was considered for? The Pro Bowl.
Yeah.
He was a lot.
He was the Irving Fryer of quarterbacks, everybody. Don't, that is something that very few of our listeners will get. Not into sports ball. Okay. Let's go polarizing now. Barton Fink. It's a really cool, it's, first of all, great performances, top to bottom. I mean, Michael Lerner as the studio head, he was nominated for an Oscar for this, and I think it's hard between him and Turturro and Goodman, who gives the best performance in the film. But I think it's Michael Lerner. He's so good.
Yeah.
Just how quickly he speaks and how he delivers everything and how reverent he is of the writer and how quickly he'll turn on him. He kisses his feet by the pool.
Yeah.
The murder is almost secondary to me. The entire storyline of, is John Goodman the devil? Is he just a murderer? What the hell is that hotel?
Right.
What happens to Barton Fink at the end of the film? It's good. Were you the one saying it's the Coen Brothers films that artists love?
I didn't say that, but I totally get that. Yeah.
Yeah. It's the one.
Why do you think it is the polarizing one on the list?
Because it's almost abstract enough to not make sense. But if you sit and enjoy it on its merits, the story kind of lays out in front of you, and it's a similar problem to No Country for Old Men, where it sets up a lot of stories that you'd like to see wrapped up, or you want it would give you satisfaction as a viewer to have them solved, have the mystery solved, and it just doesn't happen. I can tolerate it in Barton Fink a lot more than I can in No Country for Old Men. But I wouldn't put it as a finalist, for that reason. It's a little too abstract. Even for me, I enjoyed it and I went, well, I get it. It's almost a little too on the nose at the end.
Yeah.
For me.
They have a few of these movies where they hit it really hard on the nose, where they're playing with imagery.
Yeah.
This one, I feel like, we'll get to it later, is Hail Caesar, which I really love as a movie, but it definitely like takes its imagery. It's like, pow, there it is.
Yes.
That. And I think some other movies, they have the heavy-handed imagery that I think lands more comfortably than that.
Yeah.
I've always found this movie so confounding. It's just, I really love it. I really love what's happening in it. I love everything going on, but every time I watch it, I really feel like I don't know what I just watched.
So you immediately watch it again.
Yeah, so then let's start it again.
Oh man.
Yeah.
We lost Jeffrey Freeze. He's in his Fink spiral. Joseph? No, Barton.
All right. So that one's not coming in as a finalist. Let's go then another 3 years into the future. 1994's Hudsucker Proxy. By the way, this is, I have Rotten Tomato ratings for all of these films. This is the first one to fall below 90, and it does so precipitously. It is a 57%. So critics did not get this film or did not care for it. I think it's definitely a departure. It doesn't have the darkness.
I wonder if they were
any of their other
assuming
films.
that because they had this pattern of bloody and horrifying, fun and quirky, bloody and horrifying, fun and quirky. And then the Hudsucker Proxy came out. They're like, great, murder by hula hoop movie.
Exactly.
And then there weren't enough hula hoop murders in it.
Right.
There isn't even one.
No.
There is a death though. Doesn't one of the old board members die?
Yeah, Waring.
Yeah. He falls. Oh, that's right. He falls. He jumps out the window.
Yeah.
And he falls a certain. Then they talk about how many floors it is, including the mezzanine.
Yes, that's right. That's right. That's right. I'm surprised to see the really low tomato meter score on this movie. I just, and maybe it's one of those things where because I saw it in college and I've seen it a few times since, that you see it at a time when you're just. At that time, if you love something in college, when you're in your early 20s, I feel like if you love something then, you're just always going to love it. It's always going to be the best art that could have ever been.
Yeah, I tried watching Half Baked and recently, and it's not as good as it was. No. It was a way better movie when I was 19.
Yeah. But I remember thinking Hudsucker Proxy is too long for what it is. Like, it goes on, it drags. It has a really long.
Especially if it is the fun and like the more family of them. I mean, it's it's the story of the inventor of the hula hoop. Great, take your kids to it.
And
for this full day.
The fads and crazes of the 1950s and early 60s.
Yeah.
Like watching the hula hoop get made. I know you enjoy that sequence, the manufacturing. I love watching all the kids figure out how to play with it and it become a craze around the country. It's a really good montage. And Jennifer Jason Leigh, her character is hilarious because she sounds like a young Katharine Hepburn.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure is what she was modeling it off of.
Yeah. They're definitely doing the His Girl Friday sort of back and forth thing. Yeah. It's really great.
Just a quick hula hoop story, having nothing to do with the Coen brothers. But they had last night, you guys both went to the concert on land.
Mhm.
Yes.
There was a concert on land in our port that we went to, and they were selling light up hula hoops.
Oh,
Was one of the things, they always sell like light up things and stuff.
sure.
So they had these light up hula hoops, and this young family was there and put the hula hoop on the ground around a toddler, and watching this toddler deal with the fact that they were surrounded by a ring of light and could not figure out why was one of those things where you're like, oh, this has got to be a mesmerizing and strange moment in this kid's brain.
Yeah.
Like, what? Have I just been put into some sort of weird magic space prison?
That's incredible.
Yeah.
They put their baby in the prison from Superman.
Yeah, exactly.
They did, yeah.
In there with Zod.
Yeah, they're going to send that baby to the Phantom Zone. It's
See,
a
this
shame.
is how they should have ended Hudsucker Proxy.
Yeah.
Tim Robbins ends up in like Hoop of Light prison.
Yeah.
Yeah. For becoming too arrogant. Yeah.
But does this film rank as a finalist? No. All right, let's move on to...
That's it, like, you look at this list, and there are great movies on here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But you look at it and you go, oh, Fargo, Big Lebowski, Oh Brother, Where Art Thou, Raising Arizona. These are like, we're about to go into a sort of iconic Coen run.
Yeah.
I would argue that Fargo automatically goes to the finals, and we can discuss it later
Let's
when
discuss
we're
it later.
when we're discussing everything else.
I would say I don't know how you guys feel about the Big Lebowski.
I enjoy the Big Lebowski. I think you unquestionably have to put it up there. It is one of the cult comedies of America. Like, if you're talking about, like, name a cult comedy in American film history, I feel like Big Lebowski gets in there very quickly.
Yes.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, well, to find Jeff Bridges not only as an actor in the later half of his life, but it also gave us a really good idea of who he is as a person.
Yes.
Because if you hear him interviewed now, he is the dude. Like, they didn't have to put much on to get him to play that character.
Yeah.
I saw him play at Stagecoach, which is the country version of Coachella that happens the week after. And Jeff Bridges did a full set and stood up there, just him and a guitar, and played some Crazy Heart songs.
Mm-hmm.
And then as soon as he was done with the Crazy Heart songs, it seemed like he shook off a character and then became himself and went, now here's some from the dude, and then played a bunch of rock tunes. You're like, there's Jeff Bridges.
Oh, that's amazing.
And also, I don't think I've ever been to a Comic-Con where I haven't seen at least a dozen Walter Sobchaks.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
It's put on a cargo vest and some of those yellow hunting glasses.
Yep.
Yeah. And prominent roles from the Holy Trinity of Coen Brothers actors, that being John Goodman, John Turturro, and Steve Buscemi.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
John Turturro in this movie.
Jesus.
Yeah.
That's one of those characters, like you mentioned, licking bowling balls.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is just,
all the way to like Sam Elliott too, right? Like,
yes.
Cowboy as like this over the top, like not even like real character.
yeah, he's just the narrator.
Out of place and time.
I want him in my life.
Yes.
I want to wake up. Well, looks like it's a new day for Mark Gagliardi. Thank you, Sam Elliott. I'm going to have coffee now.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I love the interplay between John Goodman and Steve Buscemi.
It's so good.
We don't roll on Shomer Shabbos. The idea that he's trying to get his wife back and is converted to Judaism, but is just profane. My mother, to her dying day, would say shut the F up, Donnie, all the time. It was her favorite. That would probably be her favorite Coen Brothers movie, just for that line.
Yeah.
The beauty of that relationship is that John Goodman, Walter Sobchak, is on the second lowest rung of the social ladder.
Yes.
And Donnie is on the lowest.
Yes.
And he's the only person that he can just destroy mercilessly.
Yes.
Yeah. Who knew?
We definitely have to move this one up.
Yeah.
to the
Okay.
next
So
group.
far we have Raising Arizona, Fargo, and The Big Lebowski in the finals. No surprises there so far.
No.
Now let's move to a movie that I would put in the finals, which is Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? I think in a lot of ways I don't know if it's their masterpiece. Maybe Fargo is their masterpiece, but this is really close. It's shot beautifully. The cast is incredible. The music is unreal. It's a musical.
And it's George Clooney being goofy.
It is. Yeah, he
which
plays
I love,
Goofy
like,
extremely well.
George Clooney this is the first time I remember seeing George Clooney not as handsome and dashing with an occasional quip.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
This is just him funny and over the Coen brothers-y.
Yeah.
Which they got from him again with Hail Caesar.
Yeah.
But this, I think, is such a great version of that.
Does it get dinged for not being an original story, but a retelling of the Odyssey?
No, I don't think you can ding it for that.
No, okay.
I think,
The statute of limitations on stealing from the Odyssey lapsed thousands of years ago, right?
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I think the only thing you can really ding Oh Brother, Where Art Thou for is being an unwatchable film.
Wow. Holy moly.
Can I tell you, I knew this was coming, and I was very excited about it.
Oh, that's right. You don't like this. Why?
We were sitting in the bar the other night, and Jeffrey goes, "Oh, I have something to say about one of the movies that might upset Hal." And I said, "Oh, please whisper it into my ear." And it was, "I find Oh Brother, Where Art Thou unwatchable."
What? Why? What don't you like? How awesome it is? Do you hate awesome stuff? Is that why you like the Pro Bowl?
That's why I love. Yes, already you can throw out any of my opinions by saying that I've watched the Pro Bowl as an adult. No, I just and I get the enjoyment of this film. I totally do, and I think I would temper all that with saying, like, compared to a Coen Brothers film.
Okay.
Right? It's sort of like saying, like, when we're talking dessert, I always say, oh, I hate cheesecake. I mean, cheesecake's fine. I like cheesecake. There's nothing gross about it. It's just, in comparison to desserts, it's at the bottom of my list, and I usually don't go for that. And I think with Oh Brother, Where Art Thou, the first time I saw it, I remember just mostly being bored, thinking, when is the music happening again?
Wow.
I like it when they're singing, when there's music, and I really love the music, and the music's great, and I love the visuals to it. I love the evil characters. I love John Goodman again as the Cyclops.
Yeah.
I sort of like that they're kind of, I like that they're dealing with, like, the old South, and the Klan kind of plays that role of, like, that evil devil figure here, and that old Southern, the sheriff or the old politician.
The politician, I think.
Yeah,
He's running for mayor or governor.
Yeah, I just rewatched this movie like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, all the Klan stuff.
Yeah, all of that. And I think that's really great. I tried to rewatch this a couple weeks ago in preparation for this, and I made it about half an hour in. Was like, I can't do this. I just can't watch. And I think I always felt like it was one of those moments where I never felt like I bought into the premise nor to the main actors. Like, I just never, I love George Clooney and Turturro, but I just never felt like I connected with them in any way. It always felt sort of like false. It kind of felt like it never really registered with me.
Okay.
Well, with the Coen Brothers movie too, and the characters being the most important thing, if you don't connect to those, then it's not gonna.
Well,
the other issue I have with this, and I won't hold it up from being put up to the top, because I think, but there is a question that I always ask myself in Coen Brothers movies since the beginning, which is, where are all the black people? And so they're very white.
It's just the guitar player who sold a soul.
Yeah, there's a lot of white people and a lot of dudes. Their movies tend to fixate on that.
Right.
Most of the female characters, with a few notable exceptions, are women who make life hard for men.
Right.
And who somehow screw it up. With Inside Llewyn Davis is all about that. And
although he screws his own life up.
He does screw his own. No, it's not that the men are like flawless and the women f it all up. Like, the women are complex and interesting, but there is a thing with this movie. The way it starts out is that you have the whole chain gang pounding rocks.
Yeah.
And all of them are
just
black.
Like Les Mis.
Yeah, just like Les Mis. But unlike Les Mis, all of the men on the chain gang are all black. And then they are, singing together and cracking rocks. And then you have the three guys who are, the bumbling small-time crook guys of these three main characters. But it's like the three white dudes who are inventive and creative enough to break free.
Thank God the white people can get out of this prison.
And it is this moment of like, okay, I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with suggesting the idea of, like, in this prison you have a large black population. Right. But then to make your movie about only three white dudes there.
What are the odds?
Yes. And then it immediately goes into this idea of in trying to break free, they're incapable of hopping this train.
Right.
And so then you have one of those, like, I forget what they're called, those little,
The hand crank.
the
hand
little
cart.
hand cart down the, with the blind, black gentleman who
Right.
guides them along the way. And so there is a little bit of playing into, I think, some of those, like, I think those kind of like harmful or boring tropes.
Right. The magical
Okay.
Negro
The
trope.
magical Negro
Right.
trope.
Well, he is
sort
the
of-
Oracle. He's literally magical.
He's literally magical. Yeah.
I will say that's one thing I do love about this. Like, and this movie in particular, and in general, when an old story is updated, the fun for me is seeing how it's done.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like John
Right.
Goodman as Cyclops.
Right.
Like it's like the show's Once Upon a Time on TV now. You know what I mean? Like, oh, in this one, Jiminy Cricket is a therapist.
Right.
You know, like those sort of things, like taking these classic, and it happens whenever anyone does a Shakespeare play anywhere in the world now. It's never set in Elizabethan England or wherever it is supposed to be set.
Right.
It's, oh, we're doing Romeo and Juliet, but this time it's in Atlantis.
That's right.
God.
Yeah.
On the moon.
It's 2092 and the Capulet is a spaceship.
Here's what I'd like to do. I don't want to put this up to a finals because I think there are two stronger films ahead, but I don't want to eliminate it just in case. I want to have it in the back pocket.
Yeah.
But the thing is, why do we need to? We can't have it in the back pocket. I have no
Mark,
problem
we're
with
just
that.
putting it in the back pocket. It might not even come up
Is
again.
going to beat Raising Arizona, Fargo, or The Big Lebowski?
I think
Yeah,
so.
it might be.
I
Yeah.
think my personal opinion, their best film is coming up.
Yeah.
Ooh. Is yet to come, like they have not.
Is
The
yet-
winner of this episode is
Yeah.
the Coen Brothers' next movie.
And I think for sheer cultural value and music, Oh Brother Where Art Thou
Yes.
has to be somewhat
And the
considered.
music
Yeah.
is that was Blind Boys of Alabama did all the music for it.
And it won
and-
the Grammy for it won Album of the Year. The
Yes.
movie soundtrack, which
Yes.
is weird that a movie soundtrack wins that.
Another fun piece of trivia about this movie: George Clooney agreed to do it without having read the script. They were at a table read, I think. They had put it on his hotel room table, and he looked at it. He just looked at the cover and said, "Great, I'm in."
Yeah.
Because people want to work with the Coen brothers.
Yeah.
All right. We have, the next, let's go through the next, I think the next 5 movies, we don't have any contenders in there. I haven't seen The Man Who Wasn't There. I've heard it's good. I don't think No Country for Old Men works. I like half of the movie. I like the Josh Brolin half. And then after that, I'm out of it. Well, no, I just want to, is
it
the
win
Lady
Best Picture?
Killers?
Yes.
Yeah.
This is the only one of their movies that
Fargo
won
won Best Picture as
No,
well.
it was nominated.
Fargo was nominated
Darn
for
it.
Best Picture.
And did not win.
Should have.
So you're real. Let's just gloss past Oh Brother Where gloss
Whatever.
past No Country for Old Men.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I don't get it. I don't like it. Crash won Best Picture. You want to go defend that?
Oh my God. Jesus Christ.
Where's our English patient rocks
Matt Dillon
episode?
Matt Dillon, the racist, pulled that black lady out of a car.
We skipped Man Who Wasn't There, right? Because we're just like, that's not even going to be close.
I mean, is it?
Yeah.
No.
It's
It's
not.
very good.
Here's
It's really great.
the fun fact for the man who wasn't there. The barber who blackmails his wife's boss and lover, and the whole plan goes horribly wrong, as in many of their movies. Starring Billy Bob Thornton, and others. The movie was filmed in color, and I really would love to find this.
Uh-huh.
They released one by accident, where the first reel of the movie, which, come on, we're still using reels? Was this back then?
The first
At that
digital
point,
movie
2001,
was
yeah.
That's right. They
Intolerable
moved to
Cruelty.
digital. I wonder if that's why. Because originally they accidentally released with the first reel in color, which is
Uh-huh.
fantastic. I'd love to be in a movie theater and see this movie in color and know that, oh man, 20 years from now, I'm going to get a bootleg of this and it's going to be worth so much money.
Or go complain.
Yeah.
Hey, my movie turned to black and white halfway through.
Yeah.
Can I get another ticket?
Yeah.
Oh, I had a recent experience with a yelling audience. I went to go see Disney's Newsies, the musical, as put on by Fathom in a movie theater.
Mm-hmm.
And, Hell Hath No Fury, like when a Newsies screening starts, the video quality is not, or the video is not showing, but the audio is, and a room full of musical theater nerds dances Jets and Sharks style up to the front of a movie theater to demand satisfaction.
Oh, the five of you must have been so upset.
Oh God, we were.
Yeah, I think you can skip Man Who Wasn't There. And Intolerable Cruelty, I think, gets into a conversation about worst Coen Brothers film.
It's pretty terrible.
Yeah, and it wins.
But it's not them. It's not their fault. They weren't the creators of it.
No, they came in at the end.
They came in to fix it.
Yeah, they came in, And,
right.
So it makes me wonder, boy, how bad was that before?
Yes, and this marks them beginning to direct together, because Joel and Ethan used to write, and Joel would direct.
Yeah.
So maybe this was them figuring that out. Then The Lady Killers.
Another argument
remake
for worst Coen Brothers film.
I think it's okay. It's not their best.
Yeah.
It's just fun to watch Tom Hanks
Yeah.
be a character.
Be a Coen Brothers character.
Because he's great. Because he jumps right. He's Tom Hanks. He jumps right into it. Paris Je t'aime. That's just a segment. That's not a whole film. It's not going to hold.
We can skip that, I think.
But we do love Paris.
Yeah, of course.
Je t'aime.
Paris.
This particular movie, no je t'aime.
All right.
That's how you say I don't love you.
No,
all right.
no je t'aime.
Let's talk about No Country for Old Men.
Well, we already started. Why are you crapping on it,
I
Hal?
do not care. I love the first half of it. I was completely drawn in, and then it shifts so hard into another film that's all about Tommy Lee Jones. Like the other movies, Barton Fink, you can go back and track it. Hail Caesar, you can track it as it's actually about Josh Brolin, and it makes sense. The entire film is about him in one way or another. This movie is half and half.
Yeah.
It's really not about anything.
But Law and Order is awesome.
What?
Gung gung, are you ready for Brolin? Gung gung, are you ready for Jones?
I hate the ending. I hate it so much.
The monologue?
The senseless monologue.
I love the ending of that movie.
Why?
Because it's that, and maybe if I hadn't heard this description of it, I wouldn't love the ending so much. But as I read and loved, the movie is about Tommy Lee Jones's character. At that point, it's Tommy Lee Jones's character's story. And the moment that character is not on the case anymore, the movie is over.
Now that you frame it that way, it just piecing it all together. He's a man and he's old.
Yeah.
And he doesn't feel like this country is for him.
Right.
Or others like him. Oh, boy, that is a brilliant monologue. I feel like he could have just said, this is no country for old men.
Yeah.
And we could have just snapped off an extra 10 minutes from the end.
You could have snapped off the whole thing, because essentially, if that's the point, the entire movie was a drum roll that led up to that monologue.
But yeah, I would like it if the movie was Tommy Lee Jones walking out to a crime scene going, wow, this is no country for old men. Credits.
I would have liked that better too.
Yeah.
Though this is one of my all-time favorite characters. You mentioned earlier the biker and the what was it? Neutral chaos, you called it?
Yeah,
Chaotic neutral.
Chaotic neutral.
Chaotic neutral. I don't know, this sounds like a literary term, and I do not know
It's
those.
Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh, well, all right.
All right.
I don't know that much either.
Maybe you should read that Holy Bible over there to learn a little bit more.
Yeah, that's right.
Where's if there's a Dungeons and Dragons section of the Holy Bible?
It's the middle.
Yeah.
That character, is maybe my favorite Coen Brothers character, just because it is such an odd assortment of details.
Who, Anton Chigurh?
Yeah. It's, all right, we got to make a bad guy. Great. What's his weapon going to be? Well, I saw this thing once in a video about slaughterhouses. Okay, what's his haircut going to be? Well, I went to Buster Brown once when I was a kid. Like, it's just bananas.
Yeah, he's great in it.
It's bananas. I had read this thing where Javier Bardem had talked about like doing the table read of this movie and reading the script and talking to the Coens and being like, this is great. What a great character. I have some questions about what I'm doing and about like what this approach is. Like, there's something about the dialogue that seems a little weird for this cold-blooded of a killer. And Joel was like, you'll get it. It'll be fine. Yeah, you'll figure it out. He's like, okay, well, I might have some questions. He's like, I don't know, you'll figure it out. Once you get in wardrobe, you'll figure it out. And he got into wardrobe and they gave him that haircut and he goes, I understand now.
Oh, yeah, that haircut.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that character too. Anton Chigurh is one of my favorite of any of their characters, and I think Javier Bardem is so good in that. This is a movie that has a device in it that is one of my least favorite devices in American cinema, which is the guy who finds a thing of money. And then has to deal with the consequences. Like A Simple Plan is a really great movie that Bill Paxton, I think that's Bill Paxton, right?
Yeah.
And also, what's the Ewan McGregor movie from
Train Spotting.
Well, it was the one before Train
The
Spotting.
Phantom Menace.
No, it was another one where the kids
Moulin Rouge.
all these guys find a big thing of money. And
Down with Love.
yeah, that's it. Down with Love. Shakespeare in Love, and where Shakespeare finds a big thing of money.
And Moni Love helps him hide
that
it.
device is perfect for a Coen Brothers movie
is.
because it's their slice of life movies, and then some circumstance just happens that turns everything on its head.
Why are we still talking about No Country for Old Men, for goodness sakes?
I think this movie gets a discussion because it won Best Picture.
Yeah.
But I do think it is. I'm fine with the movie. I think it's okay. I think it's really, really well done. I like the monologue at the end. I like all of the components. I like that it kind of changes tone throughout. But ultimately, it is a movie that I feel like is predicated entirely on having this really amazing character.
Right.
But I don't necessarily feel like that monologue landed in any place for me that I'm like, oh, this is profound and heartbreaking and moving. I just think, oh, well, of course it's not. You're old. That's just what happens when you get old. You just feel irrelevant and life is harder for you. And I don't know. I feel like that's a boring take, that life is harder when you get older. Things used to be better. Now they're not as good. And I'm like, boring.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's okay. We're making America great again.
All right. Let's move off of this for now. Let's keep it tabled.
I want to just say one more moment.
Oh my God.
One more moment in the movie that
We're
I love.
in hour 4 of No Country for Old Men, the podcast.
That car wreck.
Oh God, yes.
The car wreck is a great moment in that movie of like, holy crap, this movie.
Well, and the car wreck, actually, that is really great because that relates to the next 2 movies too, which is the really abrupt conclusion to a film like that happens, if I remember correctly, before the monologue.
By the way, that was seamless.
But
pulling us off of No Country for Old Men.
Good job.
No, that idea of like, we talked earlier about like they're like soft landings. They're like, they don't really do the landing very well. And I feel like they may have taken that note, and with Burn After Reading and A Serious Man, those 2 movies just end. And you're like, well, that was what just happened. Holy shit, we're doing credits already. In both of them, I thought it served the movie really well. I really liked how it did that in both movies.
Yeah, Burn After Reading is fun. It's not a finalist. It's just not a finalist.
A Serious Man I haven't seen.
And we're at almost an hour already.
Yeah.
All right.
You want to talk about No Country for Old Men more, Mark? You want to go back and do another half hour on it?
No. Let's just eliminate the one Best Picture winner from our which of these guys' movies is the best.
Great. Agreed. Moving on.
Can I, and I'll try and keep this quick.
Yes.
I just want to make an argument for A Serious Man, and I'm happy to throw this out if we haven't all seen it.
I think it's a TV movie also. It's kind of weird. If
Was it?
It was on HBO. Well, it's not TV.
It's HBO.
It's HBO.
It's HBO.
Yeah. Honey Bunches of Oats.
So they made that for HBO, and then it went to the theaters. Is that how that worked?
I don't think it ever went to the theaters.
I saw it in the theaters. I thought
Oh, was it through Fathom Events?
it might have.
Were they showing
Newsies?
Yeah.
Did the video work at the beginning?
Yeah, this is the one where this is the one about the guy at the opera house and his face is he's got a half a mask on. Yeah,
Fathom of the Opera.
Yeah, Fathom of the Opera.
Michael Stuhlbarg is among my all-time favorite actors.
Listen, if you haven't seen this movie, when we get back on stable internet, go to HBO and watch this movie.
Okay.
I think it's so good. It is kind of in the line of the problem movies like Barton Fink, like the heavy imagery. It's essentially the story of Job. Like everything goes wrong for this guy. But some of the imagery they use in it is so truly horrifying in a very abstract way, not in a horror sense, but in a David Lynch sense. Like there's this kid in class that the main character's son owes $20 to because he bought marijuana off of him.
Right.
And the whole premise with the kid is that he can't get the money to him because he hid it in a transistor radio that the teacher took up for him because he was digging around with it in class. So he's trying to get this radio back so he can pay this big kid this money back. And it's kind of like sets up this bully thing, but the kid sits in front of him in class, and every time the kid turns around to Michael Stuhlbarg's son, you never see his full face. And there's this moment where all the time he's just this big kid, and you always, as he turns around, the camera never lets you see his face. And there's a lot of like
Is it Wilson from it's Wilson from Home Improvement?
Maybe so.
Yeah.
Or what's his name? From Parker Lewis Can't Lose,
Right,
to pull back
Kubiak.
early.
Kubiak?
Yeah, Kubiak, yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of got that element, but it does so in, I think, a really ominous, like really upsetting sort of way. Anyways, Serious Man, I think, is really great, but we can move on from that.
Yeah. Now here's one that I think deserves a spot in the finals. Their version of True Grit.
Didn't win Best Picture.
It is a
Didn't win any of the Oscars it was nominated for, and it was nominated for
crash, English Patient, crash,
Crash.
English Patient, English
Shakespeare
Patient,
in
crash,
Love.
Rain Man, crash,
Oh.
English Patient, crash.
You didn't
Yeah.
like the Rain Man?
I do like Rain Man, but come on.
Chariots of Fire.
It was the 80s. Chariots of Fire. Yeah, no, just because it wins Best Picture, we know it's not that great a movie. Come on.
Take that, Moonlight.
Take that,
I
Forrest Gump.
I think True Grit would be a beautiful movie if you had zero sound and zero music in it, and all you did was watch it. It is shot. It is like
Well, it's a Western. Those are easy to shoot beautifully. Not
they're
easy,
also
but
easy
they're-
to mess up
That's
and
true.
not shoot. This is
true.
like what Hateful Eight was supposed to be in terms of like this should be in whatever 900 millimeter
a
print.
sweeping,
Yeah,
beautiful,
like a 70 millimeter
monster of
print.
a movie.
Yeah.
that one you could take almost any frame of this film and turn it into a piece of art.
Yeah.
Also,
And Haley Steinfeld is amazing in this movie.
It is-
Really, really amazing.
yeah, Jeff Bridges is amazing. Matt Damon is incredible.
The relationship between Haley Steinfeld and Jeff Bridges is really wonderful. The chemistry that they have
Yes.
is super good, and also she's also one of the few like female protagonists in any of their films. And I
finally
find her,
started to.
Yeah.
and maybe the only one that's not played by Frances McDormand. Now that I'm saying that out loud,
Yes.
and she's terrific. Yeah, you're right, Hal, about the beauty of this film. She the shot when he's got her on horseback trying to get her to town to get her treated for the snake bite
Yes.
is the undershot of them on the horse and the horse dying and then spoiler and then also the beautiful night sky and all of this, like as she's losing her life and the horse loses its life. Like all of that is sadness and beauty, all at the same time. It's an urgency, like tension. I just think it's such a wonderful scene.
Yeah, and it is the start of Jeff Bridges tying rubber bands around his tongue and putting things in his mouth to sound weird.
So he tied a rubber band around his tongue for this movie.
Yeah.
What was it he did for it? The one this year. He did something.
It seems like he had something. He always had chaw in his mouth. It seemed sort of like that. But the language also in this film, the way in which they speak is so great. Like they all have this sort of finery to their or floweriness to their language, and there are no contractions in it. Even the stupidest and lowest class of people speak flawless English.
Yeah.
It's a mesmerizing different world that they create.
But yet
that
a
has
world that
everything
is
in
like,
it.
It looks like what you are so used to. Here's a Western. Here are a few characters, and here's a revenge plot. And
Well, yeah. I mean, it's an existing film.
yeah, it was Rooster
Cogburn
was
John Wayne.
originally. Does it get dinged for being a remake?
I don't think it does because it's superior to the original, in my opinion.
Like
They
that
made
Shot
a-
for Shot Psycho remake was.
Yeah, exactly.
Here's an American classic. Let's try and do it shot for shot.
Yeah. This one has different language though. And it's, I mean,
Yeah.
I just think I think it's an incredible film. I can anytime it's on, I'll sit and watch
I
it.
think it's an absolutely amazing movie.
Yeah.
So into the finals.
Yeah.
All right.
Along with Just No Country for Old Men, right? Just
Nope.
the two of them.
All right. We have two more to get through and then we'll run through our finalists. 2013's Inside Llewyn Davis.
You want to say that whole sentence again?
No, we're just going to keep it in. This is real life. Sometimes people make mistakes. You've got a towel monkey hanging behind you.
I do.
That's just in this
By the
stateroom.
way, that is not an epithet for any culture. That is,
it is literally-
an actual monkey made out of towel that they have created.
It looks like it's being tortured.
Yep.
So I'm going to leave it hanging in my
Mel
room.
Gibson.
Yes, it's
Yeah.
Mel Gibson and
Monkey.
Lethal Weapon.
Yeah.
Everybody go online if you don't know what in the world we are talking about and look up how to make a monkey out of a towel.
Yes.
Yep.
And you will see a real work of art.
Yeah, it's incredible. I think Inside Llewyn Davis, I watched it for the purposes of recording this podcast a couple of days ago, and I loved it.
I love this movie.
The music is great.
Uh-huh.
Oscar Isaac's great. And it is the perfect example of a slice of life Coen Brothers film, because it's not about like him getting a big recording contract or him blowing everything. It's just sort of it's the life cycle of an artist.
Mm-hmm.
And
week to week and day to day.
This movie was the one that made me go, who is this guy? Like, what a burst out debut. I don't know if it was his debut. I mean, I'm sure he had parts in other
for
things.
Oscar Isaac. Yeah.
Yeah. This is his first starring role.
This was the first Oscar Isaac thing that I was like, who is this guy? This guy is amazing.
Yes.
And then he pops up in Star Wars and I was like, yes, I'm 100% on board. When they were like, oh, the star of the new Star Wars movie is going to be Oscar Isaac. I was like, I'm done. Let's do it. I'm in.
Yeah. This movie's terrific. The cat is terrific. I love cats. And also I love this cat, and I love what the presence of the cat and the misdirection of the cat. All of those scenes are really wonderful. It also deals with like loss and tragedy of his dead singing partner, and the moment when he's asked by his kind of like what are those,
the rich
couple,
patron,
the patrons, like asked to sing, and she starts like singing his dead singing partner's harmony.
Yeah.
And he loses his mind. Like scenes like that are really, it's really tremendous. Again, it's kind of another movie where you have like not a lot of women in this movie, and the ones that are there are like, hey, can you pay for my abortion?
Yes. Yeah. They're all sort of props.
Yeah.
He's almost, or the Coen brothers, looking at this list now, it just dawned on me. This is in the 1960s in Greenwich Village.
Yeah.
Hudsucker Proxy's in the 50s. Oh, Brother, Where Art Thou's in the, is he going August Wilson? And they're going, one for each decade.
I like the August Wilson person. What if they were an August Wilson, but for white people?
Finally, white people get their own August Wilson.
It could be the 50s. At the very end of the film, spoiler alert, Bob Dylan is on stage.
Yeah, I think
singing.
It's 1961.
So there you go. 61.
Okay. There you go.
So it's right before
Greenwich Village, 1961, which I'm also a big sucker for movies that are of a time and place that I think was probably really cool.
Yes.
Right. Yeah.
You know what
really
I mean?
interesting.
Like, I would love to see Greenwich Village in the 60s.
Yeah.
There was a lot of amazing people and stuff there.
And again, John Goodman turns in a fantastic performance as the junkie jazz musician.
Yes, that whole sequence where it's another everything that could possibly go wrong goes wrong, because the other guy gets arrested, right, for being drunk or high.
Yes.
And then
he gets arrested for talking back to the police officer.
He gets arrested for talking back to the police officer. John Goodman ODs, right?
Yeah, but doesn't die. He's just asleep.
Die, he just ODs or passes out. And then Davis doesn't have, he doesn't have the keys to the car, right?
Yes. So he has to walk. And hitchhike.
Yeah. And then later he runs over the cat, or what he thinks is the cat, right? Doesn't he hit?
No, he almost hits. He swerves out of the road when he's driving. The guy who picks him up is like, I need to sleep. You can just drive the whole way.
That's right.
That'd be fine. And he has to like stop short. And the guy slams into the dashboard, but doesn't wake up. I mean, it's got those great little Coen Brothers moments, but it also, it's such a great slice of life.
Yeah.
None of those things in that happened to him in the film, as crazy as they may be, changes who he is or the choices that he makes.
Yeah.
And that's a really interesting, theme to explore, what it means to be trapped by your own choices.
Well, and also, isn't the resolution of this movie that, like, cause they set it up at the beginning and they come back that he had been thrown out of this club.
Right.
And the resolution of the movie is that he's thrown out of the club, because he was heckling the night before.
Yes.
And then he just gets his ass kicked in the alley by the husband or the boyfriend of the person he heckled.
Husband.
It's really the husband. And it's the husband's story.
It's
really.
And ultimately it's just like, you got your ass kicked because the only thing you felt powerful enough to do was to heckle somebody at a bar who was playing music.
But it's a great lead up. Like what was everything he does that leads into that moment? And do you think it's going to change him?
No.
No, of course it won't.
Yeah.
This is Inside Llewyn Davis 2 could just be next week.
Yeah.
This was nominated for Best Picture, right?
I
think if it wasn't, it should have been.
I think this was in the era of 9 movies or up to 10 movies being nominated. So if it was, it had to have been, right?
Yeah.
It's a really good movie.
A great tidbit from the Kate McManus file.
I love
this for this movie was the way that Oscar Isaac was, told to build this character by T-Bone Burnett was he put Oscar Isaac in a room, turned on a Tom Waits record, and left the room for an hour. Which is a fantastic way, like, hey, Oscar, just focus on this.
Right.
Yeah.
And T-Bone Burnett produced the music for Oh Brother Where Art Thou as well. So he's
a good music guy for them.
He's a good music guy in general. He's also Crazy Heart.
Yeah.
It was him.
What's nice
maybe
about
he wasn't
his stuff
Oh
is,
Brother Where Art Thou. Who knows?
Yeah.
I'm going to give him credit for it anyway.
his thing like fits so perfectly with them, with the Coen brothers style, because he can't be really pigeonholed into anything. He can't be, you don't listen to T-Bone Burnett and hear anything but T-Bone Burnett.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and you hear his influence in other music, but you hear his influences, but you can't be like, oh, he's this performer. He's a Zydeco guy, or
Yes.
he's a bar piano man.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Hail Caesar, I don't think is a finalist. We
No,
talked
but
about it.
No.
It's really good.
It's really fun.
And it has a sailor dancing musical number
Yes.
starring the charming potato himself.
Yes.
And as my friend Jen Levitt, who's on this cruise.
Yes.
My friend Jen and I were talking about this movie the other day, and she reminded me, do you remember the name of the musical that they're doing in that movie?
No.
No.
The Dancing Sailor musical is called No Dames.
Oh my
So
goodness.
I feel like if La La Land is such a big success, I feel like we need to bring back the American movie musical, and it needs to be Channing Tatum in a sailor dancing musical.
Yeah.
Yes.
I would love to have a Gene Kelly return. It would be so good.
Yes. On the West, I could, if that movie had just been 90 minutes of Ralph Fiennes directing the cowboy star who's being moved into a high class picture because they want to get more out of him.
Yeah.
I would have been fine with that.
Uh-huh.
What did it word that sample?
Yeah.
Okay. So we need one last finalist. It is between Inside Llewyn Davis and No Country for Old Men.
No Country for Old Men is a finalist.
No, it was tabled. We did not make it a finalist.
It's a finalist.
You think it's a finalist over Inside Llewyn Davis?
Yes.
I mean, if you're asking me which movie I like better, and if this were a decision of like, what is the best Coen Brothers movie that you just love the most, I would do like A Serious Man, but that's not
not
going
what this show
that's
is.
not what this is.
This
No.
is objectively.
And I think you will have more. I think if we're talking about best Coen Brothers movie, I like Inside Llewyn Davis so much better than No Country for Old Men. But I do think No Country for Old Men has to go up there because it did win Best Picture for them. It is
Okay.
widely talked about as one of their best movies that people will go back to. I'm not a huge Cormac McCarthy fan, not a huge, just the movie. I'm
Right.
not connected to it in a strong way, but I think it has to go there.
Well, there you go. We have our 5 finalists. We're going to take a quick break to hear about some of the other podcasts on the Max Fun Network. And when we come back, we will determine once and for all the best Coen Brothers film.
Yeah.
Hang around.
What's the deal with Brexit? Have you seen Happy Valley yet?
How do British people pronounce Edinburgh, Leicester, or Norwich?
Not like that.
Are you tired of getting your world news from reliable sources, often with no puns or sexual innuendo?
Why was there a butcher's hat haunting Coronation Street?
What's Coronation Street, and why is Dave Holmes obsessed with it?
International Waters pairs a team of comedians in LA against a team of comedians in London in a pop culture battle royale. Join us once a fortnight to hear the best comedians in the world trade jokes and stories and maybe even learn something at the same time. International Waters with me, Dave Holmes. Find it at MaximumFun.org or wherever you download podcasts.
I'm Allegra Ringo.
And I'm Renee Colbert, and we host a podcast called Can I Pet Your Dog?
Renee, can I tell you about a dog I met this week?
I wish that you would. In turn, though, can I tell you about a dog hero?
May I tell you about a dog breed in a segment I like to call Mutt Minute?
I would love that. Could we maybe talk about some dog tech?
Could we have some cool guests on, like Lin-Manuel Miranda, Nicole Byer, and Ann Wheaton?
I mean, yeah, absolutely.
I'm in.
You're on board? What do you say we do all of this and put it into a podcast?
Yeah, okay.
You think? All right. Should we call it, like, I don't know, Can I Pet Your Dog?
Sure.
All right. What do you say we put it on every Tuesday on Maximum Fun?
Or on iTunes. Sounds good to me.
Meeting's over.
And we're back. And we have our 5 finalists. Just to remind you, they are 1987's Raising Arizona, 1996's Fargo, 1998's The Big Lebowski, 2007's No Country for Old Men, and 2010's True Grit. We're going to eliminate these one at a time. We're going to go around in a circle. We will start, of course, with our guest, Mr. Jeffrey Cranor. You get to start. So we're going to eliminate one.
Well, I'm going to start of that list. I'm going to take No Country for Old Men right off.
Good job. Good job. Enough said there.
So Hal didn't get to do it.
That means Inside Llewyn Davis was never eliminated from the finals where it belonged. Mark?
I am going to, from this, so it's Raising Arizona, Fargo, Big Lebowski, and
True Grit.
That's tough. I am going to have to eliminate True Grit from the list.
Wow.
I love True Grit. It's wonderful. If Coen Brothers is an adjective, though, I think there are movies on this list that are more Coen Brothers.
That's
I think
fair.
that's a good way of putting it.
Really good way to put it. I'm going to eliminate The Big Lebowski, which I think is very Coen's brother.
Anger every dude in his late 30s.
Here's
in
why.
America.
Here's why. I think the other 2 films that remain, Raising Arizona, which sort of set the standard that Big Lebowski lived up to in terms of wacky characters in a comedy. And I know that's extremely broad, but it's just kind of hard to have them both in there. And there's no way I would eliminate Fargo. It's such a great film. Such great characters. It's a good time to talk about it. Frances McDormand wins an Oscar for her performance.
We did
knowing we would talk about it now. I said we'd talk about it later.
Yeah. Right.
And we're talking about it now. Steve Buscemi and Peter Stormare as the 2 criminals are fantastic, where they go and they meet with the hooker. Everything about this film is so great. William H. Macy as the guy who's in over his head.
And one of the scary, most unsettling scenes in the movie is the one that I think people point to as the most confounding or confusing scene in the movie, is when she drives to, and I think it's actually one of the few times she goes to Fargo, right? Because it all mostly takes place in Brainerd.
Brainerd, yeah.
I may be getting where she is, but when she sits down and she meets with that old friend from high school.
Right.
And, he has that moment of like, do you mind if I come sit next to you? No, why don't you stay right over there where you are? And
yes.
There's a weird desperation, a lack of connection that he has in his life. And it's one of the few times you see, Marge look unsettled. It's one of the few times she's having to negotiate her own physical space and her own protection in this world of like these terrible killers.
Yeah.
And these violent deaths and even when she checks into that opening scene of the people murdered by the side of the road, she's just very like, oh, it looks like a defensive wound. Nah, right? And then
just gonna barf.
You're just gonna barf. And,
I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, but that scene it falls in with like, it takes that element out of things like Barton Fink and things like A Serious Man of like, here's a scene that should truly unsettle you and you should not know why it's here.
Right.
She's so good in that movie in the calm moments, like the calm moments of quiet.
Yeah.
Her ultra realistic reactions to quiet things and being unsettled by this thing that isn't a murder or a big heist. It's just a guy she doesn't want hitting on her.
Yeah.
It's a simple thing. And her quiet looks so beautiful compared to and amps up the insane, like the wood chipper scene. And yeah, it's just a wonderful movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that is why the Big Lebowski has been eliminated. So Jeffrey, it falls to you.
And we're down to Raising Arizona and Fargo.
And Fargo.
So you will determine ultimately.
Oh, that's so exciting.
The greatest Coen Brothers movie of all time.
I love Power, and you guys will be the ones who get all the tweets and emails.
Yeah. You're the first person who's gotten this, gotten to this point. Nathan Fillion didn't want it. Weird Al didn't want it. You're taking it head on. You recognize the power you possess. I love Power. It's such a great answer.
To me, this is To me, this is an easy decision, not because I don't like the movie I'm about to eliminate. I love it, and I think it is the second best Coen Brothers movie of all time, which is Raising Arizona. I think for me, Fargo is the best Coen Brothers movie. It is one of the best movies made in American history. Like, if we're going, it has to be in a top 100, even a top 50 list. I don't know where AFI put it, but it is a wonderful film, and it also has all of the bells and whistles of a Coen Brothers movie at the same time. It is serious, and it is funny, and I think it is very moving. It is it also has a female protagonist, which is very rare for their films.
It is Frances McDormand, which is not very rare for their films.
Which is not super rare for their films.
Yes.
But I think this movie is solid all the way around, and I think it is the movie we go to when somebody says Coen Brothers. Like that poster, that needlepoint poster is the first thing that pops into my head.
Yeah. Well,
all right.
There you go. People of the world, this is a long episode, so I'm just going to tell you. The best Coen Brothers film is Fargo. You probably knew that going into this. As much as you held on to your Raising Arizonas or your Oh Brother Where Art Thou's or your No Country for Old Men.
Shut up, Hal.
Or whatever other movies. How dare you? I'm not going to let that slide. I will not shut up. I will not be silenced. Just like Marge Gunderson will not be silenced. She solves crimes across the frozen tundras of America. There you go. Asked and answered. It's Fargo. Jeffrey, thanks for being a part of the show.
Thanks, Hal. Thanks, Mark. This was great.
This was so much fun.
Yeah.
Look at the beautiful ocean out our window.
It's so lovely. Tell everybody where they can find all of the podcasts that you do and whatever else you want to promote.
You can go check out Night Vale Presents. We have a lot of new podcasts in our little tiny network. We have Welcome to Night Vale, of course. The second season of Alice Isn't Dead comes out in April. And we also have another season of Within the Wires starting this fall, as well as we started Orbiting Human Circus with Julian Koster of the Music Tapes and Neutral Milk Hotel this past fall.
Hey.
And we have a couple more shows coming out this fall that we'll announce pretty soon.
And when this comes out, this will be early April. Night Vale will be on tour.
We'll be on an Eastern
throughout America
Midwest tour. Yeah.
And you're on your way to this June is 5 years.
Yeah, June will be our 5-year anniversary.
Congratulations.
Doing Night Whale.
Night Whale. That's the new Coen Brothers film. Night Whale. The whale comes at night.
Welcome to Night Whale.
Played by Steve Buscemi. It's the voice of the whale who comes at night. He wears sunglasses. He's a cool whale. Cool whale. Well, this is Jeffrey's topic, and it has been settled, but there's so many more topics out there that you have, and we want to hear from you. So you can email us at wegotThisPodcast@gmail.com, or you can hit us up on the Facebook group, facebook.com/groups/wegotThisPodcast.
Or reach out to us on Twitter at WeGotThisTweets, or you can check out the Maximum Fun subreddit. There's probably a flame war happening right now.
Thank you to producer Ken Plume, to our researcher Kate McManus, who put together a great document that we used heavily during this episode. Thanks, Kate.
Thanks, Ken.
Thanks, Ken. Thanks, Uri Kelman, our graphic designer.
Thanks, Uri.
And thanks to Jen Alba, who does our QA.
And thank you, as always.
No thanks to Jen from Jeffrey.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thanks, Jen. I'm sorry. I zoomed out for a second.
There we go.
Yeah.
My goodness.
Yeah, you thanked everyone but Jen Alba.
Sorry.
Go ahead, Mark.
Bad blood.
Yeah. Oof, man, I don't
Squash
know what
the
you
beef,
guys-
man. Squash the beef.
Famous Wendy's slogan from the 80s.
Sitting behind the steering wheel. Squash the beef! Thank you, of course, to Jonathan Dinerstein and Mike Furman, our musicians, for our score and theme song, respectively. And, of course, thanks to you, our listeners. We would not be on this boat if you weren't listening to our show. So we thank you for that. And we hope that we can provide you with many more, episodes about many more, sibling motion picture creator pairs. We'll do the Wachowskis at some point, I'm sure.
Best Garfield movie.
Sure.
Yeah.
Best Garfield movie. A Tale of Two Kitties.
Of course. That one's obvious.
Thank you for listening. For Hal Lublin, I'm Mark Gagliardi.
And for Mark Gagliardi, I'm Hal Lublin. And don't worry, everybody. We got this.
We got this.
MaximumFun.org.
Comedy and culture.
Artist owned.
Listener supported.